Welcome to some beautiful Oregon sunshine. Today I'm going to plant some seeds. It is February 19th and it is time to plant things like celery and fennel, Chinese chives. I'm going to start with the chives. They say to plant them right on the soil surface. It says that they will be able to tolerate the cold weather down to about 0 degrees. So we'll see how that works. So we're just going to drop them on top here, and we're not going to cover them at all. Have to keep them very moist when we do this because it's very easy for them to dry out. Right now it's cold enough outside for a jacket, but in the greenhouse I'm almost sweating in a long sleeve shirt, so they will dry out quickly even though it is still winter. Let's plant some fennel. Never grown this before, but I tasted some last year and it tastes a lot like licorice. It was very interesting, and my husband likes it on pizza and things like that. So I'll pull some seeds out here. I'll show you what they look like. They look just like the spice that you see. We're supposed to sow these just on the surface, so and I've never planted these before, so it's going to be an experiment. Gardening is an experiment. That's part of the fun. I'll just sprinkle a few of these in here. You notice I'm planting these ones in a yogurt container. I've discovered that the plants I've grown in the past have preferred a round container over these square ones, so I try to save my yogurt containers for that purpose from time to time. We'll see how it works this time. And these seeds are supposed to be barely covered, so I'll grab a little handful of potting soil over here. And we'll just sprinkle a little bit. And there we go. The next thing we're going to plant today is some celery. I've grown this before. This is actually seed from 2012, so we'll see if they still sprout. I think they probably will. Seeds usually last much longer than we would expect them to. These are just itty bitty tiny seeds. They really like the cold weather of spring, so it's best to start them as early as possible. The package says to get them outside 8 weeks before the last frost, so and it also says not to cover them. They just go on top, and I'm going to try to just plant little clusters so that I can transplant them as little lumps of celery. So I'm guessing I've got about 5, maybe 8 seeds in each of these little clumps. And I'm putting 5 clumps in each of these pots. So now we just have to make sure they stay really moist. So I had a few extra pots, so I thought I'd plant a couple other herbs. Right now I'm going to plant some thyme. This stuff is really fun to use for knot gardens. I did a knot garden one year, and this worked very well as a border, as one of the lines. So I like to grow all the herbs I can, harvest them myself, dry them, chop them up, put them in containers and use them. They work well frozen too a lot of times. They freeze well, they are easy to use that way. When they're frozen, they just crumble in your hands into a pot of soup or whatever. I like to grow parsley too. I planted a little bit of this. The parsley is great to grow beside peppers. It improves the flavor of the bell peppers, and it lasts through the winter, which is always fun. The celery also lasts through the winter. I come out in the middle of winter when it's all cold, when I'm ready to make a pot of chicken noodle soup, and I grab celery and parsley straight out of my garden all year. It's a lot of fun. So it's a very satisfying thing to be able to still go out in the garden and pick things like that in the middle of winter. So the last thing I'm going to plant today in the herbs is going to be some Russian tarragon. I've never used this, but it's one of those things, it's a companion plant. I like to do a lot of companion planting when I grow my garden. I try to put as much in a certain area as I can and get the most out of the soil usage. So we'll plant some tarragon, and then that'll be all for today. These tarragon seeds are so little that they put them in a little tiny bag in here. You'll notice that most of these herbs that I planted today, they're either barely covered or they're not covered at all. So I'm going to have to be out here very regularly to water them and keep them moist. For that reason, they're also all very safe in the cold weather, which is great because I can't heat my greenhouse at night with a heater or anything because I don't have electricity out to my greenhouse. So that works well for me. Again, I'm just going to sprinkle it around. Never grown it before, just have to see what it's like. And then of course we have to water. It's very important when you're done planting to water the seedlings to get them started. If you don't water them, they won't begin to do what they need to do. So we'll put some water on here and come back in a few days to see if they sprout.